coming, not to ask, but just to give, not to want, but just to send. Sing the power warrior down to everybody's throat in the WWE till they become sick of it. Well, you're gonna get sick of it because this freaking nature right here is just beginning to swell. And when I get big enough, brother, there ain't gonna be room for anybody else but me and all the warriors float through the veins and the power of the warrior. How must I prepare? You must ask yourself, should I jump up the tallest building in the world? Should I lay on the lawn and let it run over me with lawnmowers? Should I go to Africa and let it trample me with raging elephants? You can feel it, dude. You can feel it. Load the spaceship with the rocket fuel. Load it with the warriors. In my final meeting with the gods from the heavens above, as they spoke to me and hit me with the power of the ultimate warrior, they told me, exit stage left, exit stage right. There is no place to run. All the fuses and the exit signs have been burned out. With the command of my voice, I raised the level of the words to one that can't be reproduced. Dig your claws into my organs. Stretch into my tendons. Bury your anchors into my bones. For the power of the warrior will always prevail.
Thanks to those joining me live and to those that'll be joining me on archive. DStyleBoxing here. All right, very late night video. Got home a little bit ago, and I've been wanting to do this video, and you know what? Let's go ahead and get it done, okay? Let's get this video out of the way, because I've been asked a lot about what do you think about the ECW? All D-Style, ECW. What are your thoughts on ECW? D-Style, but ECW, though. I mean, ECW this, ECW that. So let's go ahead and address ECW. Now, for those that don't know, ECW first started Eastern Championship Wrestling. They had like this once WCW and NWA separated from the merger, I guess you could call it. The NWA did like a tournament, and in that tournament, Shane Douglas won the tournament, and he actually threw down the NWA title, and then he proclaimed himself ECW champion, world champion, that is, and whether it was that night or a little after that, it was proclaimed ECW. I'm not here to tell you about the future, or not the future, I'm sorry, the story of ECW. If you're listening to this, you likely know the story, and you could look that up. Hell, Wikipedia will do a better job than me telling you all about ECW, but if you were a fan, you know about ECW. I'm not here to give you a history lesson about ECW, but that wrestling promotion is now defunct. It's actually owned by WWE. You could actually watch their content on the WWE Network. Okay, I believe all the pay-per-views and shows from ECW, maybe not all of them, but pay-per-views for sure, are available on on the WWE Network if you're ever interested in watching that. Let's talk about ECW and the effects that it had. And there's a lot of fundamental disagreements that I have with a lot of people that I even, you know, a lot of wrestling minds here on YouTube, a lot of which I respect their wrestling take, but I don't quite agree with the ECW, you know, influence, you know, as far as what I believe was some negative impacts that ECW left at the wrestling business, right? And that's something I want to talk about now. Make no mistake about it, ECW is a double-edged sword. So I don't believe it's absolute on either way. Like, I don't think it was absolutely disastrous for wrestling. I don't think it was absolutely great for wrestling. There's some negatives and there's some positives. We'll go over the positives, but first the negatives, okay? In my opinion, all right, ECW desensitized fans, all right, to wrestling, right? It made wrestling very dangerous for the participants, not just in ECW, but outside of ECW, all right? And there was a period of time where how could any wrestling match matter to you if the majority of the people in the crowd are waiting for somebody to throw themselves off a ladder, okay, onto like 4 or 5 tables or flaming tables or whatever it is, okay? Um, so this is something I wanted to address. And to me, the psychology, like, I don't have a problem with a quote unquote hardcore match. I don't. I don't have a problem with blood, and I don't have a problem with jumping off ladders, okay? But I think that if you're going to be climbing a ladder, it needs to make sense, okay? Psychology wise. So the way, and this is an art form that wrestling has lost, and I believe that it's not all exclusive to ECW, but ECW contributed to this, okay? Basically what you're watching when you watch wrestling, okay? Let's put wrestling aside. Let's say you go to a theater and you watch a movie, all right? And in the movie, when there's a fight scene, if it's a good fight scene, it needs to look believable, right? Now, they're actors, they're not really fighting. It's a movie, you know that, right? But they're not going to do things that don't make sense. And if they do, you're going to point that out and you're going to say how stupid that is, right? So in wrestling, what people forget is that, sure, it's understood that it's not real. Like, this, like, I hate the fact that this needs to be said over and over again, right? That's understood. It's understood that it's all kayfabe. But in understanding that, what are you portraying? What is the kayfabe? What is it exactly? You're portraying a wrestling match. So the things that you do in the ring need to make sense. It needs to make practical sense. All right? Like it's a fight. Like, you're fighting another human being. So the things that you do need to make sense. If they don't make sense, all right, psychology wise, then that's one of the reasons we've lost psychology in wrestling, right? Let me give you an example. Like, I remember, all right, I can't recall exactly what it was, but there was like 2 guys on top of a ladder, right? This was an ECW. And there was somebody laying on the table. Both guys, all right, on top of the ladder. Now, I don't remember how they got on top of the ladder to begin with, all right? Psychology-wise, the reason a ladder match was you were able to make it believable because they actually have to climb the ladder to grab the damn belt, right? But if there's nothing to grab up there, then I don't know what you're doing climbing on the top of a ladder, right? But nonetheless, there's not one but 2 people on top of the ladder. And then they look at each other, and then they brace themselves, and then they throw themselves onto the table below them. Now, the crowd went crazy, right? Because 2 human beings just launched themselves and landed on top of another human being onto a table. And oh my God! Holy shit, right? Now, my thing is, for some reason, wrestling fans, all right, began to get gratification out of there being more and more pain in wrestling, because even though it's kayfabe, they wanted to be able to tell their friends that wrestling is dangerous. Look, these guys put their bodies on the line, right? Well, yeah, they already put their bodies on the line, right? They're working 4 or 5 days a week, getting slammed on a mat, okay, on turnbuckles and stuff like that. That takes a toll on the body, right? Now, when you make it more dangerous, and I'll quote Bret Hart, wrestling is you're supposed to make it look dangerous. It's not actually supposed to be dangerous, right? You're supposed to sell an injury. You're not supposed to actually injure yourselves, right? You're supposed to act like you just fucked up your knee. You're not actually supposed to fuck up somebody's knee, right? You're supposed to act like you just punched them in the face, not actually punch them. You're supposed to act like the drop kick landed. You're not supposed to actually kick them in the face like a mule. When you land all right, when the steel chair lands, you're supposed to act like the steel chair, like the steel just cracked you open. It's not actually supposed to crack you open. Like it's, especially if everybody's in on it. But there was this weird, like, and I remember because I was in high school, right? And look, obviously it's hard to say, well, did you enjoy it? Well, look, it was almost like watching a crash. So I couldn't take my eyes off of it, right? But it really helped kill the psychology, right? I saw Sabu do countless stuff. And look, if you just look at the stuff he did, he would like jump out and land outside on the outside rail onto a table and stuff like that. I mean, but it was all like before our very eyes was being set up that way. Like that doesn't happen. Like if you get in a fight with somebody at a bar, okay, you're not going to set up a table, okay, to go grab somebody and slam them on that table, right? You might slam somebody on the table that's already there, right? A la, Diesel bumping into Bret Hart against the ropes and Bret Hart flies out and lands on the commentary table. That was something original, right? And it was, you could say like, yeah, that looks like something that could maybe happen in a real fight. All right. Now, granted, it's understood that it's not a real fight. Okay. It's understood that it's scripted, right? So even if the scenarios are unlikely, you have to at least make sure that they're possible. Like, like this, there was too many things in ECW that, in my opinion, made little sense. But people overlooked it because, hey, it was a flaming table. It was like a shining object. Now, not everything in ECW was bad. And like I said, we're going to talk about the good things. But right now, we're really focusing on the negative here, right? It really did desensitize the fans. It really did, in the long run, hurt the business, right? I really do. That's one man's opinion, right? And it is the fault of WWE, etc., for not overcoming that, okay? But nonetheless, ECW did contribute a lot to that, right? All of a sudden, people weren't interested in two men selling a wrestling match anymore. It's there had to be a weapon, that there had to be blood, there had to be every fucking match all the time. Like, there was a time where guys would have like two matches, one guy would win one, the other guy would win the other one, and then they would do the steel cage match. And it was until the steel cage match that one of the guys was bleeding, because that helped sell, right? But all this, I don't know. I just think that in the long run, it had a very negative effect on wrestling, okay? It is honestly, when I usually hear people say, oh, I want chair shots to the head. I mean, chair shots to the head, okay, have been proven to cause brain damage, right? Like, it's not a good thing, and it's not necessary to land a chair shot to the head for you to be a wrestling fan. Like, if you need these performers to hurt themselves for real, then they're becoming glorified stuntmen, okay? Glorified, jackass hosts, okay? They're not really performing arts anymore. Okay, they're no longer basically actors in a play. They're not doing that anymore. Okay, like when you're making them hurt themselves for real, for you to get a gratification that something about it is real, there's just something there that is logically just doesn't make sense to me. Right? Like if you want to watch, like I'm not a big fan, and I know I don't have something against it. I'm just not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of like the strong style with guys kick themselves for real. Where they kick themselves in the chest and in the legs and bruise each other up. I'm not a fan of that. Like, it's the way I see it is, if you want to kick someone for real, then just have a real fight. Then don't do wrestling. Then like go do MMA. Go do it for real. Like it's not a performance art anymore at that point, right? Back to ECW. I also feel, right? I've always felt like, this is my opinion, okay? Now, this is not something, it didn't have a negative impact on the business per se, but I've always felt like ECW fans feel like ECW wrestlers are superior or better to guys like Bret Hart or Hulk Hogan or Macho Man, guys like that, guys that really put the business on The Rock, stuff like that. Guys that really put the business really up there, and it's not even like the Chris Jerichos or the Guerreros or the Rey Mysterios that were there for a while, but like the guys like I'm just not impressed. Like the Tommy Dreamer, I'm not impressed. Sandman, I'm not impressed. What did Sandman do? He just hit people with a fucking cane. Like, that doesn't take talent. It just doesn't. That's not a talented thing. He would smash a fucking beer can on his head and make his head bleed. That's just not a talented guy, right? He's no more talented than the fucking host from Jackass. Okay, I know that sounds like harsh or whatever, but I never saw, like, the Sandman could not pull off a great match. Like, if you cannot pull off a great match without weapons or something like that, then you're just not that great, right? There are some guys I did like. I did like Taz. Okay, I did like that shoot fighter type of gimmick, and it was original at the time. I don't like them anymore, and I mean, they're overdone now. But when Taz did it, at least we're gonna go to the good things about ECW in a moment, but so I don't want to dive too much into that. But there was some guys, man. Tommy Dreamer, just not impressed, man. I'm just not. Mike Awesome. Well, all Mike Awesome would do is, powerbomb people into tables on the outside of the ring, but that's all he did. Okay, Mike Awesome didn't do anything else. Literally anyone could do that. Pick somebody up and powerbomb them. Diesel could have done that. Psycho Sid could have done that. It doesn't take talent, right? Now, credit where credit is due, okay? Paul Heyman worked with what he had, okay? He got the strengths of certain guys and exposed that, and he really, really did a fine job of hiding their weaknesses, right? But ECW was, and here's my other thing. You cannot look at ECW and say, oh yeah, that is the blueprint to have a successful wrestling company. And I feel like a lot of ECW loyalists and big ECW fans that feels the best wrestling they ever saw in their life, which there was some good wrestling on there, but and we'll touch on that, like I said, but it wasn't the best wrestling I ever seen, right? Not for my liking. But they swear it was the best, and it's a blueprint to have a real company. That the only reason that ECW never grew was because Vince McMahon got the deal with TNN, and nobody would give ECW a shot. Guys, ECW did not have the blueprint to have a successful company. ECW never held an event with more than 10,000 people in it. And I'm being very generous with 10,000, right? I don't think they ever had 5,000 in an arena. Right? It just, they never, and you could say, well, they could potentially have done that. I disagree with that. It was a very niche crowd, okay? And giving them blood every match and all that, and fire and on tables and all that, but without it's overdoing it. It's overkill, okay? And the overkill of all that hurt wrestling. Like it hurt it really, really bad. Okay. There's a thing called the payoff in wrestling. And ECW escalated it to a point of no return, right? I mean, it's terrible. And the WWE, to say that and here's the other thing, to say that Vince McMahon just carbon copied ECW and started the Attitude Era. Look, man, I mean, I understand there's some connections there. Stone Cold is one of them, okay? Um, and there's some connection there. But ECW is not the only company that Vince got ideas from. Let's just make that clear right now, okay? ECW got ideas from other companies too. Okay, let's just be clear. But at the end of the day, it wasn't like the exact same thing. Okay, no, it wasn't. Okay, like there was some influence there, but the fact of the matter is there would be no Vince was secretly funding ECW, right? So like if he wasn't secretly funding it, okay, for a long time, it would have gone down under, right? Vince was helping ECW, okay, for quite a while actually. And Vince wasn't screwing them over like Eric Bischoff was and taking away talent, right? So when ECW fans act like Vince was the bad guy, and it's not Vince's fault that Paul Heyman was a terrible businessman, right? And he couldn't run a company, okay? Like he was able to get a niche audience, and that's it. Like he was not able to grow it from that. He just could, and the product was not made to grow. It just wasn't, right? When people go watch a movie, right? They want a story and they want it to make sense, all right? They want continuity, they want all these things, all right? I'm not saying ECW had none of that, right? But to me, the perception of ECW, and it might be an unfair perception, but with the um, with the way they would present the product and promote the product, you can't blame people for having that perception. But the perception was that they're just gonna bash each other with chairs, cut each other open, okay, slam each other against tables, maybe a flaming table. Okay, the crowd is going to be chanting ECW, and that was basically the product. Okay, that's how it felt, and it's a little unfair because I'm going to touch on it right now with the good things about ECW, and I know I'm hammering hard right now. Okay, I know I am, but I can't. This is just me. There is a certain arrogance from ECW fans, man, that think it was the best storylines ever, the best wrestling of all time, and I just strongly disagree with that. Like I can't tell you how much I just disagree with that. Right? I don't care how many tables you slam through. If that shit looks choreographed, okay, and it looks like both opponents are helping each other set up four tables so they could both jump into the four tables for no fucking apparent reason, just to make the crowd go, oh, then yeah, like there's no psychology there, okay? And don't tell me that never happened. Hell, just I remember when Sabu did that spot with Rey Mysterio in one of their one night stand. I think it was their last pay per view. It's like you can't tell me, right, that that table spot wasn't like he was setting up the table spot and making it obvious what he was going to do, and then he put Rey Mysterio on the table, and Rey Mysterio stood up, and he just stood there and just waited for Sabu to jump on the ropes and then land on him so they could go crash to the table. It was just stupid. Like it's just like I get it. It's gonna make people go crazy because they slammed through the table that was between the ring and the guardrail. But it's like that's not a fight. Like that's like dude just setting up something to do it. Like it's just that's what it is. Right? In a wrestling match, there should always be two forces working against each other, right? And just to prove, look, I'm not against table spots and I'm not against hardcore shit, right? It's awesome if it makes sense, right? So, for example, Omega. I saw the Omega Jericho match. personally, I could have done without the tables and all that shit, but they did it, whatever, right? Omega did this amazing spot, and it looked believable. Okay, like it looked like he was gonna catch Jericho off guard, and Jericho moved out of the way, right? And it looked like the table. He didn't set up the table there; it was just there, right? Anyway, with that said, let's. I've already bashed ECW enough, so let's go ahead and talk about the good things about ECW. First of all, before a lot of people don't know this, but before ECW, um, Taz, okay, before Taz and being like a shoot fighter and tapping people out, okay, like they do in MMA. Before that, there wasn't anyone tapping out in wrestling. That wasn't a thing. So when Bret Hart would put somebody in the sharpshooter, they wouldn't tap. Um, if you go back and watch those matches, the refs would just like look at the wrestler, and it was assumed that the wrestler was giving up, saying yes, 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 and then the ref went ahead and stopped the fight, right? Or the match, that is. So it was basically saying, "Do you quit? Do you quit?" Yes, it was like verbal submission. You know, so that's cool, right? The whole tapping started because of that. Rob Van Dam, I'm a big fan of Rob Van Dam. Not of everything he does, but overall, I was a fan. Rob Van Dam was good for wrestling. Big fan of Rob Van Dam. And there was some, ECW also. Without ECW, there is no Rey Mysterio. There is no Jericho. There is no, Eddie Guerrero. Bischoff doesn't steal that talent. Okay, they're not seen on WCW. They never cross as the Radicals, or Jericho not as the Radicals, but as Y2J. But anyway, that's just some examples. So they brought a lot of talent, like, from around the world. So not everything they did was bad. Okay, but so you got to give them credit where credit is due, right? But there was some long-term effects, and the one thing that I love about wrestling is the psychology of wrestling. And in my opinion, ECW hurt the psychology of wrestling, right? And it also desensitized fans to table spots and stuff like that. I mean, a table spot's like whatever now, and I think with fans being part of the act now more, they're more accepting to things not making sense as long as it gives them a big spot. And to me, that's lazy booking. Um, that's what it is. So it's like the commentary table. When Bret Hart fell to the commentary table, and that, by the way, that was a regular table. They didn't, razor bladed through the middle so it could break easier. The monitors were there and all that because he wanted to sell it. He wanted to make it look real. Okay. Now he didn't get hurt or anything, right? But he had to make it look as real as possible. And as far as the nowadays, every other match has every Monday Night Raw has a fucking table spot. Okay. And what do? You're gonna slam somebody you don't like on a table, right? So what do? They remove the monitors. At the most dangerous, like the most dangerous part of the table, they remove it. Like it's just weird. And then the one thing I can't stand is this idea that slamming someone through a table is more dangerous than just slamming them through the fucking ground. It's not. It breaks the fall, right? Like when Bret Hart did that table spot, it wasn't meant to, like, oh my god, it was just to shock people. Like, holy shit, that just happened, and that just doesn't happen no more, right? But those are just my thoughts. Lance Storm, by the way, I was always a big fan of Lance Storm. One of the good things that came out of ECW. Let me just open up the chat here really quick. Hopefully, I don't have any big ECW fans that aren't happy with some of the stuff I said. I'm just giving you my honest opinion, guys. That's all. Let me pull this up. All right. New Jack. He's got a knife, says John Green. Um, I don't remember really watching much of New Jack, but what did he do? I mean, I'm just saying. Like never watched the OG ECW, but I like watching the YouTube Psychosis versus Rey Mysterio and the FBI. You know, ironically, when I go back and I watch ECW matches that did not involve tables and all that shit, I love those matches. Like it's like, why can't I just make it big off of that? You know, in the long run, if they did more of that, I honestly think it would have been, you know, bigger. But I get it. The whole thing was extreme championship wrestling. So Prodigy Sandman was a badass. All right. I mean, I'm not a fan of the guy. You know, what did he do? He went through the crowd, he drank beer, he slammed the fucking thing on his head. Okay, the can. He had a cane, he hit people with a cane. What did he do? Like, that's all he did. Like, I'm trying to understand. Like, anybody could do that. Like, if anyone could do it, like, I'm not impressed by it. But that's my opinion. Prodigy Taz was my favorite. I did like Taz. Shane Douglas, never liked the Dudley Boys, and Rhino. I actually liked Rhino. But there you go. Jamie Chop, real skilled wrestler like Rey Mysterio knew it was amateur hour at ECW and bailed. Yeah, and that's the other thing, right? It did come off as amateurish. Like, it really did. Okay, that's the vibe I got out of it anyway, but that's my opinion. Prodigy, ECW was for certain type of wrestling fan. That's why it never blew up. ECW blows anything from today. Well, first of all, Prodigy, I probably agree with that because today's product is trash. Okay, what the WWE is doing to itself today is 100 times worse than what anything ECW did. Okay, in the 90s. But I'm just giving my thoughts here. All right. Fuck Kenny Omega. He's a faggot. I know he's a great worker. Kenny's a weirdo. He's into that faggot shit, like dressing up as drag queens and kissing dudes. I never watched a Kenny Omega match. Well, bro, he had a great match with Chris Jericho, bro. He also says, I hate the table spots in WWE. It's so bad and contrived. It was like a bar fight in front of 6,000, says Prodigy about ECW. 6,000 people. Yeah, the table spots are terrible. And I just don't, like, if I were to pick somebody up, right? It's just, I would rather just slam them on the freaking concrete floor than on that fucking stupid table. You know? Like, the table's going to break the fall. Like, it's just, I don't know. That's me. Okay? Like, I've never understood table spots like that. It's just that, you know, they look cool to people. But people, I don't know. It's maybe I'm one of the few that actually kind of looks at that and says, okay. You know, like, I remember WrestleMania 17. People ask me, what was your favorite match at WrestleMania 17? I say, right? I'll be like, man, like, I don't remember wasn't it a triple threat with Angle and what WrestleMania was it where Angle and Jericho and Benoit had a triple threat? I don't know, that was 16 or 17, but I thought that was way better than the TLC matches, right? But at WrestleMania 17, The Rock versus Stone Cold, I think it was just a better match than the TLC match. What was the TLC match? What were they doing? They were climbing ladders and doing stunts. That's all they were doing. Like, you know, they weren't selling a story. Like, there was no anything. Like, they were just like, we're going to climb up the ladder. We're going to put dudes on tables. We're going to fall on them. We're going to climb on ladders. We're going to have this Edge, which the spot where Edge speared, the only spot that I could say, like, I was like, I could see that. The only spot that I could say was awesome was when Edge speared Jeff Hardy, when Jeff Hardy was hanging on to the belt. And the reason that makes sense is because, yeah, you have to try something. Hit the guy. Might as well hit him with a spear. Okay, that is, you know, holding on to the belt. Because if he comes down with that belt, then you're going to lose the match. Right? That made sense. What didn't make sense is why, if if the Dudley Boys are out, like just think about this logically, okay? The Dudley Boys are out, like they're out cold, you know? You have enough time outside of the ring to put the Dudleys on the tables, climb the ladder, a big ass ladder, right? And pose, and then do a swanton, hurt yourself in the process, and just lay there. If you had time to do that, you had time to get the ladder, put in the ring, climb up, and grab the belt. Like that's what I'm talking about. Lack of psychology. You know, like I get it. Like a lot of people will say, "Well, WrestleMania 17, my favorite match because Jeff Hardy. I mean, holy shit, bro! He jumped off the top of the ladder, bro, onto fucking four fuckers, bro. Like so what? It didn't make sense. It made no. The object was to grab the belts from the top. That was the point. The whole point of the match was to grab the titles and become the champions. That's the story you're selling. So if they're not moving for you to do all that, why not just go grab the belts? It makes no sense. Oh, but the arena went crazy though. Well, yeah, but it hurts psychology. That's why psychology has gone to shit, right? You're telling me they couldn't? That's lazy booking. They couldn't come up with something better. Like they could have done a stunt, but that one that made sense. You know, look, Edge spearing Jeff Hardy while Jeff Hardy was holding on to the belt was a stunt, but it's one that made sense. Yeah, it looked awesome. It made the crowd go crazy, but it made sense. Like it made logical sense. Like, okay, I could roll with that. I could see why he did that. Just saying, right? Like I remember like two dudes climbed the ladder. The belts were like right there, but they were holding a table, and they placed the table on top of the two ladders. But why are you doing all that? Like what? Grab the belt. Like what? Okay, well because they have to do a spot. You know, like it's stupid. All right. Stone Cold versus The Rock blew that fucking match out of the water. It was a better match. Psychology-wise, it was just better. Right? Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. I know I'm one of the few people that will tell you that the TLC matches, psychology-wise, were terrible. They just were. Right? And the reason a lot of wrestling fans liked it, well, because it's like a car crash, right? And not only that, what would a lot of wrestling fans do? Oh, you don't think wrestling's real? You don't think wrestling's real? Look at what Jeff Hardy did. He fucking jumped off the ladder and landed on fucking Dudley. Oh yeah, that's fucking real, bro. Or did he land? Didn't he move out of the way and just landed on the table? I don't know. It's just something stupid like that, right? Made no sense. It just, if somebody's out unconscious where you could put them on a table, just think about this for a moment, okay? Let's say you get in a fight with somebody. You get in a fight with them. You knock them out like they're out. Like, why would you grab them, put them on top of something, go climb on top of something high, and then jump on top of them? Like, what's the point of that? Why would you do that? That's what I'm talking about, psychology. It makes no sense. You could just keep punching the guy. He's out. All right? Well, there you go. You could do high spots, but they need to make sense. Right? You want to have somebody jump off the top of a ladder, okay? You can do it. But you got to make it, it has to make sense. Like, don't be so lazy in the booking. Like, don't just say, well, it doesn't matter if it makes sense, because once he jumps off the fucking ladder, nobody's going to care. They're going to go crazy. Because, you're just killing psychology at that point. James Chavez Sabu was a botch king. Austin vs. Rock WrestleMania 17 was great. The ending was trash, though. Well, I agree with that. I mean, I didn't like the fact that Vince McMahon interfered and all that, but I'm just talking about the match in general. Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, and Chris Benoit mastered their craft in Japan. So without ECW, they go to WCW and still be stars. Well, we don't know that for sure, right? So we don't know that for sure. But I tend to agree with you. But we can't change history. Like we can't change the fact that they did go to ECW, and we can't change the fact that Eric Bischoff did in fact steal him from there. You know what I mean? I don't know if steal's the right word, but offered him lucrative contracts from there. But yeah, Tommy Dreamer was a poor man's Mick Foley. Yep, not a fan of Tommy Dreamer. I like Mick Foley. Mick Foley's an example of some. Look, Mick Foley. Say what you want about the guy, right? The shit he did made sense, right? Like it made sense. Now I personally didn't like the fact that Foley would like hurt himself a lot. I wasn't a fan of that, but it's what he chose to do. It's what he wanted to do, right? So if it's just what he wants to do, I mean, hey. But hey, cutting a promo, Mick Foley's awesome at a promo, right? Um, it's give him a terrible gimmick like Mankind, he made it work, right? And Mick Foley, he could have if it was, he could have a. It didn't have to be a hardcore match. He could have a great match regardless, and he could tell a story in the ring. So I like Mick Foley. Prodigy, I'm not a fan of TLC matches either. Not much logic in those matches. I agree. Prodigy. I'm a fan of matches like Stone Cold versus The Rock and Goldberg versus Lesnar. Not a big fan of flippity flip matches. I gotcha. Okay, Dizzler. Foley was a genius. El Sacco. Foley got a fucking sock over, bro. That tells you everything. He got a sock over. Like the crowd went crazy when he presented Vince McMahon with Mr. Sacco when he was in the hospital, for those that don't remember. And he started doing the Mandible Claw from there. Mick Foley was given the Mandible Claw finisher by Vince with the Mankind character, right? It's whatever. And he made it work, right? Like when he would do the Mandible Claw, like say what you want, but I would ask myself, why don't they just bite his fucking fingers off? But aside from that, he would sell it like rah rah, like whatever he would do. Like when I would watch it, I was like, holy shit, he's like killing these motherfuckers, with that fucking his two fingers down their throat, But he just did a great job selling it. Gotta give him credit. Yeah, he did it with a sock. Mick Foley, man, he was just great. He was just great, man. I think he did a lot of things that I don't think were necessary, And again, this was Foley's ideas, man. Like it's, he, like he wanted to be slammed on thumbtacks, but if you watch those matches, like it makes it makes sense. Like it's when he falls into thumbtacks, like the series of events that happen, like they make sense. Like, you know what I mean? And then in this character, it was always about wanting to inflict, like he loved pain and he wanted to inflict pain on his opponents. That was his character. And so when he would pour the thumbtacks in the mat, I wasn't a fan of that. Again, I'm not a fan of wrestlers hurting themselves like that. Okay. But it's as dangerous as it is, but whatever, he would do it. But psychology-wise, those spots made sense. Look at Hell in a Cell, okay? Hell in a Cell, there wasn't nobody in the table. Like he didn't do the stupid, Shane McMahon, I'm going to climb to the top of the cage and then launch myself on the top of the cage. Like if he really had The Undertaker out like that much, he would have won by a pinfall. Like really? You had The Undertaker out for that long on the table for you to climb all the way to the top of the cage? Really? But psychology-wise, the first Hell in a Cell match, well, not the first, I'm sorry. That was the HBK Undertaker one. And even that one. Okay, but let's talk about the Mick Foley one. Just psychology-wise. The Undertaker threw Mankind off the fucking cell. And that's why Mankind fell from the top of the cell down to the table. He wasn't setting up a stunt to jump on somebody. Okay? So it made sense. And the first one, Shawn Michaels as well, he fell down to the table, right? The second one was a complete, I believe, was just an accident. That thing was not meant to break, okay? And the chair fell in like Foley's mouth. They should probably have stopped the match right there. I remember JR screaming, "Stop the damn match." I think that was a shoot. I don't think JR was selling the match. I think he was serious, okay? I think Undertaker thought Mick Foley was dead when that happened. Nonetheless, Mick Foley wanted to finish the story, so they did the thumbtacks spot, which was just totally unnecessary after that falling off the fucking top of the cage. But they made it make sense, and he found the thumbtacks, and then the Undertaker won. Like, you know, but at the end of the day, Mick Foley, say what you want, love or hate the fact that he does the hardcore stuff and all that, it makes sense. When Mick Foley has a match, it makes sense. Okay, he has very good ring psychology, and I don't think Mick Foley gets enough credit for that. Probably because he does hardcore stuff, but he's a really good psychologist in the ring. Prodigy didn't like the Sacco shit. That was all comedy, but I got you. Jamie Chavez, RVD had potential to be a superstar, but was too busy promoting weed. Well, man, he loved his weed, bro. But RVD was high, man. Like there was a point where I remember the whole Mr. Monday Night. I think that was great. Like I was digging that, you know. And then I don't know what happened. Like it kind of went away, and then kind of came back again. RVD was high. RVD was on fire, and then fucking Triple H buried him, man. He wouldn't put him over, right? Triple H didn't put the guy. Triple H should have lost RVD at that when they were feuding. He should have put him over, and he didn't. You know, so but whatever, you know. That's not shocking, but RVD should have been the champion at that point. And RVD's another guy. I'm surprised they never did RVD versus Shawn Michaels. There was so many great matches they could have done. You know, now, I don't know how much the weed thing had to do with that, but at that time, it was just Triple H. I remember reading Triple H interviews where they would ask him like, "Hey, the fans want like a push for RVD," and Triple H will like, and this isn't a shoot, like blame RVD. Like, well, we should ask RVD. It's RVD's fault that he's not over right now and why he's not champion. Only RVD can control his own destiny. I'm like, what? RVD was the best in-ring performer at that point. He was kind of like the AJ Styles of his day. Like he was damn good in the ring, you know, and he was over. The fans liked him, and he didn't need hardcore, but he could do hardcore. He could do a regular match. He could do anything. He could do a WrestleMania main event caliber match. He could do a big fight feel match. He could do a hardcore match. He could do anything. Like, you know, and I don't think he was as bad on the like what he did on the mic was good enough. He didn't have to do more. It fit his character. It fit his look. He was on fire. That's my opinion, but I blame Triple H. And then, of course, yes, when they finally did give him the title, that whole weed thing happened. You know, what are you going to do? Prodigy, I respect Foley. I was never a huge fan of the guy, though. Okay, Dizzer says, Dude Love was the GOAT. Okay, Dude Love was the funniest ass shit ever. Well, Dude Love, isn't that like I know he did in the WWE, but I guess that was the guy he was trying to portray or whatever, you know? Now, I'll never forget, and you guys should look this up. As Mankind, he did this awesome promo, man. Like it's one of my favorite promos of all time, where he does an interview with JR. Okay? And he's talking about Shawn Michaels, about how he wanted to be Shawn Michaels because he would be Dude Love when he was a kid, you know? And he starts talking about how his deformities and and about how Shawn Michaels has it so good, and he's a pretty boy, he's a boy toy, and all the girls, they wouldn't look at him the way they look at Shawn Michaels, and but it's just like it really digs deep into that Mankind character. He also talks about his days in Japan and about how he used to be Cactus Jack and that turned him into Mankind, and so they kind of all morphed it together, and it was just fucking awesome. That promo is one of the best promos, hands down. One of the best promos I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like that's it's an awesome promo. Another promo that I like, and look, right now Kane should be out of the picture. Kane should retire. I don't want to see Kane right now. Okay, but when Kane did the unmasking, like when they unmasked Kane, aside from the fact that storyline wise, it kind of fucked up the original story. He was supposed to have like a burnt face, and he was supposed to be missing an eye, and Kane was supposed to be hidden in a basement for so many years, but now he had a girlfriend and stuff like that. But anyway, when they unmasked him, that Kane was my favorite Kane ever. And speaking of JR, when he did that interview with JR, like when JR's telling him, Kane, like you don't. What do you mean you have burns in your faces? Like you don't. And he's like, "Are you mocking me, JR?" And he had like the black towel over his head. And that was an awesome promo too. And to be, I don't know why the WWE doesn't do shit like that anymore. I don't know why they don't do it. I don't know why they don't do like simple stuff like have the WWE commentators, fucking stupid ass Michael Cole. They did it with Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar, and it was awesome. But why not do the two-screen thing where you're interviewing one guy at his home and the other guy via satellite, and you're asking them questions about their upcoming match at the pay-per-view, and have them talk trash to one another and stuff like that. Like everything, it's all just they don't do that anymore. Like I said, the last time they did that was with Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar. That's the last time they did that, and it made no sense because they were in the same fucking building. It was just stupid. That part was dumb, right? But I remember they did it with Bret Hart and Stone Cold, and I remember they will just do that more often, but they don't do that anymore. Doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I don't know. It just they'll rather start, Raw and have a guy come out with a mic and say he wants a title match, and another guy comes out with a mic and says he wants a title match, and then another guy comes out and says he wants a title match, and then Stephanie McMahon comes out or Kurt Angle comes out and he schedules a triple threat match, and the winner will be number one contender or whatever. That's just it's always the same old fucking cookie cutter bullshit that they're doing today. It's terrible today. All right. And then this whole like the cameras are there, but they're not there thing. I hate that. Okay. Like it used to be that when they would do a backstage interview or something like that, or they went to the office of the CEO or whatever, or the president, whatever they call him now, commissioner. It was like a planned thing, and now we're gonna hear from the commissioner. Like now like they'll just the camera just so happens to be at the back, like right after a match, and Kurt is just randomly just standing there in this so-called office, and somebody walks in conveniently and then starts talking to him, complaining or demanding a match or something, and then Kurt Angle announces that there's going to be a match, but never like acknowledges that the crowd is watching. Like it's like this weird thing that the WWE does. I don't know what to say about that. It's stupid. Why do they do that? Anyway. All right. Somebody said ECW got the shit from FMW and WNG in Japan. I don't know much about that stuff, bro. The Jamie Chavez, Paul Heyman's only talent was kissing Brock Lesnar's ass. WWE are lazy, says Prodigy. Well, a lot of times people say I don't think a lot of people understand psychology, right? And like when people say, "Oh, this wrestler, he's a great psychologist," right? I don't think many people know what that means. So like when people tell me Triple H is a great psychologist, really? Triple H is a great psychologist? And I know I've said this several times, but for those listening now, tell me if this makes sense to you. Triple H. I'm going to give you two scenarios. And this is why Bret Hart always bashes Triple H for being, all his stuff is predictable. Okay. And it's always at the best solid, but it's never great. And everybody says, "Oh, Bret Hart is hating on Triple H." Guys, he's just being honest. Okay. The best Triple H match I ever saw was the triple threat match at WrestleMania 20 with Triple H, Chris Benoit, and Shawn Michaels. And I hate to break it to Triple H fans, that was all Shawn Michaels and Chris Benoit. Okay, that's the truth. But anyway, credit to Triple H for bleeding and selling the crippler crossface and all that. But that was big. But at the end of the day, psychology. I'm gonna give you two examples. Okay, he just had a match at last WrestleMania against a very good worker, by the way. So there's no excuse that he had to carry somebody or whatever. It's Seth Rollins, okay? They had an okay match. Like, it was okay, right? Now, I'm going to leave aside the fact that Seth Rollins wouldn't always sell, that he had a problem with his leg, but let's leave that aside. In the promos, now Triple H cuts a good promo. I'll give him that, okay? But that's not ring psychology. But in the promo, he's telling Seth Rollins that if you go to WrestleMania, that is your last match. Like, I'm going to end your career. That's what he told him. Now, you go in the ring with me with a fucked up leg, and I'm paraphrasing now, I'm gonna end your fucking career. This is not just a standard wrestling match. And you know what? He made him sign a form saying he cannot sue the company for what he's going to do to him and all that, right? Sounds serious. It was one of the best promos Triple H ever cut. I remember saying, because you're a one-legged man, and no one-legged man has ever won anything, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but it was a great promo, right? He did better than Seth Rollins in that promo. I'll give him credit where credit's due. Good promo. The match comes. How's this for great psychology? I forget what move Triple H hit him with, and he went for a cover a few minutes into the match. Psychology-wise, if you're trying to punish the guy, why would you try to end the match so early? Well, once it's 1, 2, 3, ding, ding, the match is over. Why was he trying to pin him so many times? So he's a one-legged man. So if the object was, well, we're going to put if Seth Rollins is going to go over, I get it. You want to put Seth Rollins over. That was a right call. I'm not arguing against the call. Okay? But let me repeat the scenario. He wants to end the career of Seth Rollins. You know how a Bret Hart would have done that match? Do you know how Jake the Snake Roberts would have handled that match? This is what would have happened, right? Bret Hart would have had a one-legged Seth Rollins beat, but instead of going for the pin, he would continue to attack the leg. And the commentators would be saying he could have finished the match, but he wants to end the career of Seth Rollins. He would have had numerous opportunities to end the match, but he won't go for that because he's not trying to win the match. He's facing a handicapped guy with a hurt leg. He's trying to hurt him and end his career. He's going to target that fucking leg all night. if it's the last thing he does, and because he's focusing so much on trying to hurt him, Seth Rollins finds a way to beat him and get the 1, 2, 3. Right? That's what they should have done. That's not what they did. It was just a standard boring match, and with Seth Rollins occasionally selling that his legs hurt. Okay, like that's it. It was stupid, right? Oh, and Stephanie randomly just fell into a table that they set up there. Okay, wow. Like, like it's just dumb. Typical Triple H. Okay, that one's bad, but the next one's worse. Psychology. Oh, Triple H, he's a great psychologist. Really? Okay. Randy Orton, I forgot what WrestleMania was, but they headlined, was it WrestleMania 25? I forget. Okay. 24, 25, whatever it was. Randy Orton versus Triple H. Triple H is the face. Randy Orton is the heel. Randy Orton attacked Triple H's wife. Didn't he like handcuff him and like kiss his wife while he watched? I mean, in the promos, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna hurt." He was talking about how he's gonna hurt, and devastate Randy Orton. WrestleMania comes around, and it's just a standard match. It's just like a regular match. None of that is sold during the match. None of that. This is a dude that attacked your wife. You're having a standard match with a guy. Hits the pedigree, 1, 2, 3, just in a regular match. It's just stupid. It was just the dumbest. It made no sense. Like, once you pin him, keep beating him up. But no. He's going to go pose and stuff. Now, who cares if he beat up my wife? I just won the title. Like, it made no sense. It was the dumbest shit ever. Let me see. Bret Hart loves to kiss John Cena's ass. The one thing I will say is this. Bret Hart is dead wrong about John Cena. He's dead wrong. I disagree with Bret about John Cena. Prodigy, that match meant nothing when Triple H ended up teaming up Seth and Ambrose in November last year. Right. That was in a house show, right? And then they try to pass it off as, oh, but house shows aren't canon, though. Like, what? Now the WWE has canon? Like, well, what is this? What do you mean house shows aren't canon? They didn't like freaking AJ Styles win the United States Championship at a house show? So did it happen or did it not happen? It's like they think WWE fans have a mind of a rock. I agree. No other companies in entertainment or sports or wrestling treats their product with such retardedness. Let's see. Triple H and Randy Orton main events in WrestleMania 25. And it was a standard match that could have been the main event of fucking Raw. Okay, that's what it was. There was no hatred sold. Like, I didn't feel like Triple H really hated Randy Orton. During the match, I never felt like Triple H really wanted to hurt Randy Orton. Like, I didn't get any of that at all. You want good psychology? Okay. You want to feel the hatred that two guys have for one another? Watch The Rock versus Stone Cold at WrestleMania 17. Watch Stone Cold versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13. Right? Go watch those pay-per-views. And then you'll realize what psychology is all about. Okay. Go watch Bret Hart versus Owen Hart at WrestleMania 10. That's psychology. You like gimmick matches and you want psychology, go watch Razor Ramon versus HBK at WrestleMania 10. Go watch the Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker and Mankind. There's this psychology isn't limited to just a regular type of match. Okay. But I just wanted to give my thoughts. Okay. And why not end it by bashing Triple H? I mean, why not? Like, it's always a good way to end it. Hulk Hogan is the man, but I get so pissed when he kisses John Cena's ass. The best thing about ECW was when the fans threw all the chairs in the ring. Interesting. I I don't know what it is with some of these stars, man. It's like they defend Roman Reigns and John Cena so much. Like when I see like Scott Hall defending Roman Reigns, I'm just like Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, right? They're the same guys, okay, that brag about how they were more over than Goldberg and they were piping in the Goldberg chants, right? No, you know all that? Like, oh, they were booing Goldberg. They were piping in his chants. But when people bring up the fact that Roman Reigns gets booed, it's like a different tune with them. It's like they're not even like the same person. It's like, who are these guys? They're all defending the WWE, saying that the fans are unreasonable and like all this other bullshit. I'm just like, what the fuck? You kidding me? What the hell? But anyway, let's see. Okada versus Shibata for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at Sakura Genesis was a great psychology. Never seen it, but I couldn't screenshot this. So I could watch this at a later date for sure. Anyways, guys, I did watch. I'm going to end it with this. And Daniel Cormier actually tweeted about this a couple weeks ago. I remember watching this Ring of Honor sequence. It was like a mixed tag match, or not mixed, but it was like 2 or 3 teams. I don't remember, but these guys were doing a series of drop kicks over and over and over again. And it started with 2 guys and then 4 and then I think 6 or something like that. And it was the goofiest thing I've ever seen. It made no sense. It's I mean, the death of psychology 101 in wrestling. But Cody Rhodes was all defending it, saying, "Oh, people pay good money, so we got to entertain them." And I'm just like, this was just terrible. That wasn't that's not pro wrestling. I don't know what the fuck that is, but it's just a bunch of dudes just flopping around and flopping around and flopping around. Like, that's not wrestling, right? So, and I agreed with Daniel Cormier. What happened to a headlock? Like what happened to like a pile driver, or like with just slamming dudes? Like what happened to that? The one I'll say this, man, it's refreshing to watch Brock Lesnar. He suplexes guys. It's refreshing to see somebody just pick somebody up and suplex them. It's just a refreshing thing to see. All right. Anyways, guys, I'm running low here on fuel. Got to get to bed. WWE must pay them to put over Reigns. And Prodigy says ROH is an ass show. Yeah, man. Look, I can't judge ROH like that because I haven't watched it like that. But from that one thing I saw, that was trash. Okay, that drop kick. I was saying drop quick, but those drop kick sequences, it was. You could argue, oh, it's so athletic, but like what's the point of it? It doesn't lead to anything. There's no point to it. It has no relevance to the match. It's not progressing anything. Great psychology is wasting no movement. Every move you make makes sense. What you do is as if it was real. That's what great psychology is. And in wrestling, you can stretch that a little bit. You could do things that maybe you couldn't really do, but at least looks like you could. And that's, but those, I'll give ECW this. They didn't do shit like that, like those dropkick fucking sequences. That's fucking terrible. Okay, but that's just, it's, I don't know. All right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and hit to bed. All right. Somebody says ROH has good wrestling. I believe it. I believe they do, because they didn't like AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, like like a lot of guys came from ROH. I was always a fan of Cody Rhodes. You know, I'm happy for Cody Rhodes and all that, and I think the WWE did the Stardust gimmick was stupid. They could have really done something big with Cody Rhodes. You know, so I'm happy for him and all that. So I haven't really watched a product like that, like I said, but what I saw there was just terrible. That's all I'm saying. All right, so if it says ROH from 0408 was amazing, take your word for it. Brock is the only reason I still watch this Prodigy. Well, there you go. Anyways, guys, I do got to roll. Thanks to those that joined me. Hopefully, I didn't piss off any ECW fans too much. Okay, hopefully, I didn't piss off any Triple H fans too much. But with that said, this is DStyle, and I'm out.